Hello everyone. This is Koba Sensei from ITeens Lab. This is the 16th video in our series explaining how to use Unity. In the previous video, I explained about the game view layout. In this video, we'll be looking at something also related to how to view the screen, specifically the parent-child relationships between objects. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? There are parent-child relationships. Let's take a look. This is useful for organizing objects that you might have placed too many of on the screen, or for managing objects in general. Yes, I've added too many and it's getting a bit hard to see. It's a very useful function for tidying things up. So, you all want to place a lot of game objects on the screen, right? Please try to master this function. Let's get started right away. Last time, we talked about the game window and the scene window. And you can rearrange them like this to create the layout you like. That's what we talked about. And also, you can save a layout you like from the Save Layout option, or you can reset it back to the default. And if you want to go back to your favorite layout, you can do that too. So, as I was saying, you can change the layout in various ways like this. This time, I'd like to give a more detailed explanation about organizing and using the hierarchy window around here. Alright. Let me take a look. So, to make this easier to understand, I'm going to add a few objects and adjust their shapes a bit. First, right-click, 3D Object, Plane. Let's create this as a base. Now, scale the X by 10, and scale the Z by 10 as well, to make it bigger. There we go. Sorry, 10 times was a bit too much. Let's set it to about 5 times instead. Alright, I'll set it to about 5 times. And I'll try to adjust it nicely for now. Okay. Next, I'd like to add a border around it. Create a cube. With this scale, let's adjust the X size. How much should it be? 20 times? Maybe a bit more. Let's set it to 50 times. Alright, now we have one border. And for this cube, let's call it wall since it's going to be a wall. Now, let's copy this one. And this one too, let's place it at the edge. Alright, let's copy it one more time. After copying it again, let's adjust this one's rotation. Rotate it 90 degrees. On the edge. Let's make the walls. Now, let's copy this one. It should look something like this. With this, let's add a bit around the edges. Alright. Now the fence is done, and it looks like the player and the enemy are inside. Since I want to try a bit more, I'll go ahead and add some more 3D objects here. This time, instead of a cylinder, let's try using a capsule. So, this is what it looks like. Alright, this time it's a capsule. I'd like to make it a different type, like an enemy. To make it easier to understand, let's try doubling its size, for example. Since this capsule enemy is also an enemy character, I'll attach the enemy script to it and then turn it into a prefab. Once that's done, I'll keep adding more capsule enemy prefabs like this. And then, I absolutely want to keep on lining up the enemies like this, just one right after another. Alright, with this, we've added the outer frame and lined up the enemies. It's starting to look a bit more like a game, isn't it? Let's try running it. This is the play screen. When you press the button, it fires a ball. Yeah, adaptation. It's about making it disappear, something like that. I've created a game that's kind of like Space Invaders, or has a Space Invaders vibe. With this, when the bullet flies and hits the wall on the other side, it now disappears. Up until now, the bullets would just keep flying off infinitely, but now they disappear cleanly, so it's organized like this. At this point, I want you to take a look at the hierarchy window. As you keep adding more and more objects like this, it starts to get really messy, and it becomes harder and harder to tell what's what. Now, at this point, there's actually a really useful feature. In the hierarchy window, you can create parent-child relationships between objects. This feature actually exists. Let me show you how it works. For example, let's say you have capsule enemies. There are several of the same type, right? And then there are the regular enemies. These are also similar types. Then you have the plane and the wall. This one, well, is not used for the outer wall program. So, you have things like this, and there's a way to organize and group them together. So, how do you do that? You right-click here and select Create Empty. This creates an empty game object with nothing in it. When you right-click and choose Create Empty, a game object appears. It's just a completely empty game object. And here, for example, you can. Okay. Environment. So, the things around you, yes. And then, over here, this plain hole, well, in other words, it's not an enemy, but more like an obstacle, or, how should I put it, something in a surrounding environment. Things like walls or floors, all of those can be grouped together, and if you drag and drop them onto this environment here. Just like this. Now, under Environment, plain wall and wall 1, 2, 3 have been added. That's what happens. And if you set it up like this, if you click here, you can open and close it to hide everything at once. Also, by using this environment, you can move the entire group all at once. So, it looks like this. This is often referred to as creating a parent-child relationship. In other words, the environment, which is an empty object, becomes the parent, and everything inside it is added as its children. So, when you move the environment, the outer frame or the main container, everything inside moves together. You could also call this grouping, which is a similar concept. This way, you can organize things like this. For example, for enemies as well, you can use Create Empty here. So, enemies, and then these enemies. If you group them all together inside this enemy's object, the hierarchy window becomes much more organized. As you keep adding more and more objects to your game, the hierarchy window can get pretty cluttered. So, by creating groups like this and organizing things a bit, it becomes easier to see and makes game development smoother. Actually, this parent-child relationship isn't just for moving things together as a group, there are other uses as well. There are various effects. For example, if something collides with the parent object, the child objects will also move along with it, and there are many other possibilities. So, not only when you want to organize things, but also when you want to create a group as a single unit, it's a good idea to set up parent-child relationships like this. For example, let's see, what else could there be? You can combine these 3D objects like this, and, well, kind of like this. So, let's say you make a character like this, just like this. Let's say you create a character that looks kind of like a Kokeshi doll. For example, you can use Create Empty to make a Kokeshi, and then put both of these inside it. That way, you can treat this Kokeshi as a single object. That's how it works. And, well, I think some of you probably want to try making things by combining 3D objects and such, so please try using this kind of method effectively. Alright, everyone, great job! How did you find today's content? Well, the parent-child relationship I introduced this time actually has many more uses. I really hope that, at the very least, you'll remember the term parent-child relationship from this lesson. There are also ways to control and manipulate this parent-child relationship through scripts, and you'll see more and more of that as we go along. I hope to cover those details somewhere in this video series eventually. That's what I'm thinking. Next time, we'll take a look at the feature for displaying things like scores or text on the screen, the Canvas feature. Alright, see you in the next video. Bye bye.